We're in the next generation of gaming, right? At least that's what we're told, but I don't feel like we're in the new generation, to be honest with you, for a number of reasons. New hardware doesn't just offer prettier graphics, smoother performance and new innovations, but more content, and we have not really seen any of those things come to fruition so far. That isn't to say these games are bad, but they aren't mind-blowing either. Now you may be content with this and say, it's not a big deal, I don't mind, which is fine, it's your prerogative. But I do care because I have standards. If I drop over $400 on new hardware, not including new games and subscription-based services that are pretty much mandatory, I expect new experiences. This is the next generation of gaming, right? It should feel like nothing we've ever seen before. That's what it's meant to be like for every console generation, and that's what it has been like for every other console generation. But I honestly don't feel that way anymore. My optimism for this generation has faded, with disappointment after disappointment, and to be honest with you, I have some buyer's remorse. The hardware is not the leap we expected, and for the most part is dated compared to PCs. It's never happened before. The PS3 and Xbox 360 were powerhouses at launch. These consoles are kind of anemic, and with all the devs trying to put out the most intensive graphics they can get for marketing purposes instead of prioritizing gameplay and performance, we're seeing games with awful performance left and right that even fail to reach 30 frames, let alone the all-important 60 frames per second. Killzone Shadowfall is a great example. It has an unlocked frame rate which can reach 60, but it usually drops below 30, which for a next-gen console is kinda terrible. The same applies for Dead Rising 3, Tomb Raider, Call of Duty Ghosts and Battlefield 4 to name a few. It's ironic then that the more anemic Wii U has more 60 frames per second games. This is a trend that really took over in the previous generation. A lot of PS2, GameCube and Xbox titles ran at 60 frames per second because they prioritized gameplay and didn't want to hinder the player's reaction times just to put a few more polygons on screen. But now it seems people don't care about the frame rate as long as the game has pretty graphics, which blows my mind. Powerful hardware isn't just important for outputting better graphics and smoother frame rates, but also allowing developers to try new things with the less restricted horsepower, such as creating larger worlds or developing smarter AI. Now tell me, how many next-gen games are out right now that couldn't be achieved on older consoles with worse graphics? Killzone? Forza 5? Hell, even Infamous and Titanfall aren't really next-gen games. Infamous is a PS3 game that just has better graphics and particle effects. That's it. And Titanfall? Well, it's releasing on Xbox 360, so there you go. It's a sad state of affairs when most of the next-gen games are also releasing on older consoles. I don't remember seeing Metal Gear Solid 2 releasing on the PS2 and the PS1 because the jump was more substantial. With the exception of Dark Souls 2, which is ironically on dated hardware, I've yet to come across one game that is released so far this year with a campaign or story mode I consider lengthy, or even average for that matter. Now, I've already expressed why Ground Zeroes is a cash grab and a demo, so I'm not going to dwell on that too much. Instead, I'm picking on the full price releases we've seen so far because all of them have been way too short for their asking prices. Titanfall, 3-hour campaign that wasn't very good anyway. Infamous Second Son, open world game I beat in 7 hours and nearly 100%ed in 10 hours. Forza 5, less cars and tracks than Forza 1 on the Xbox. Do you see what I'm getting at? If these consoles are supposedly so much more powerful than their predecessors, why are we seeing less and less content within those games? Now look, I haven't lost faith in this generation entirely. Some upcoming games seem like they're trying to push the envelope more, especially ones coming only to next-gen platforms in the next 2 years, like The Division. However, given the way things are heading right now with the games released so far which were hyped up by unhonest gaming press outlets to be more than they were, I'm not holding my breath because I've been let down before. This is a great example of why you shouldn't get hyped for games. It makes you irrational and you'll likely be disappointed, like I was. I've been disappointed with this new generation to the point where I'm not even hyped for games as much as I was before, because really, there isn't much to be excited about moving forward if the last few months of disappointing next-gen releases are anything to indicate.